Well, you got to be moving. You got to actually be moving in the rotating reference frame. That's the answer. You know it. Those guys don't know it. You're the smartest guy of all those guys. They can't admit to that.
Changing your.
So
Jeremy knows. He's already agreed. He knows. Jeremy knows. Listen to Jeremy. He knows the stuff.
Did you guys hear what Extremis said? Did you guys miss what Extremis says about the equator?
Yes, there's no Coriolis at the equator.
Because you have gas.
Did you hear that?
Why would there be?
Jeremy?
Why would there be Coriolis at the equator?
We call it.
I heard them. They're not changing your tangential speed at the equator.
Well, Yodvos is a type of Coriolis, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
Let's make a distinction then. We're talking about.
I was going to make that point earlier, but I don't want to confuse.
Yeah, I know.
I immediately started thinking about dropping things from like a tall building and guns being fired off, east to west. But I want to go there because I don't want to get more confused. But yes, generally east to west Coriolis or north south Coriolis does not happen at the equator.
Would you give a new name to the north-south?
But there is Coriolis at the equator, though, right, Zanuck?
Well, then
they're on a rotating body.
Zanuck.
Right. Anytime you have,
yes, there is Coriolis at the equator.
Okay. I'll make a ubiquitous statement. Anytime listen, this will encompass any problem, any kind of situation. Anytime you have movement in a rotating reference frame, you will have Coriolis.
Right. So the equator, yes or no?
Hold on.
So certain types of Coriolis will not be seen at the equator. Other types will be. Because you always will have Coriolis in a rotating reference frame, period. If you move.
That's a double speak. You just said
I just got done telling you.
Hold on a second.
The Coriolis that
Janik, let's hear from Jeremy real quick. I see wasn't supposed to do that.
So the citation Extremis read off about there's no Coriolis at the equator is wrong, right? Because there is Coriolis at the equator, right, Zanuck?
There's certain types of Coriolis that are still present at the equator, yes.
No, yeah, but that's why I said there's
certain type. Which type? When we drop. So go ahead.
Janik just said the general definition for Coriolis. However, there's a specific Coriolis effect that's used. It's used in the same. They use the same phrase, and they're talking about one specific type of Coriolis.
Wow, unbelievable.
It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. So in that Coriolis, Extremis is correct.
You see how you have to catch these little things, Jeremy?
See, hold on a second. So when we drop something and there's deviation, that's not just regular old Coriolis effect?
That's Coriolis also. It's a type of Coriolis.
So there's definitely Coriolis at the equator, right?
Yes.
Which type?
The citation Extremis read off. Hold on a
East
second.
to west.
So the
Coriolis.
citation Extremis.
I'll tell you. Wait. SC just asked me a question. SC asked me a question. I'll be very clear.
Fuck?
Dropping something, Coriolis.
Yo, Zanuck, come on, man. Jeremy was halfway through a sentence. Please, come on, Zanuck.
That was my bad. Even though Jeremy took over my question,
I'm responding to SC. Responding to SC.
But just let Jeremy finish what he was saying first.
He did. He finished.
Did you finish, Jeremy?
Of course he did.
Zanuck, I promise you he didn't finish.
He's not going to address my point about Extremis' citation being wrong. He's going to skip on to something else.
Well,
I addressed that, by the way, Jeremy. Yeah.
Answer that question, which was my original question, Zanuck.
East to west.
Is right or wrong?
I don't know why they do it, but they have a definite description of Coriolis. The north-south Coriolis is the one that's classically talked about as a Coriolis effect.
So
I don't know why they separate that out, because Coriolis is a suite of effects.
Correct.
So, I mean, why they have one called Coriolis and then one called Etbus and one called this, if it's one of the suite of Coriolis, that's weird.
Yeah,
what the hell are you talking about?
We were specifically talking about north-south Coriolis, which is 0 at the equator.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Is that what your citation says, or does your citation just say there's no Coriolis at the equator? Maybe you misphrased it.
It's implied that north-south Coriolis is what most people talk about.
Is it say it or not?
That's why they gave a name, Jeremy. That's why they gave the name Yotvos to the east-west component.
Agreed. We're not talking about the
several. There's also other components.
When you drop something, the deviation when you drop something, that's called the Coriolis effect, plain and simple.
Yeah,
it happens at the equator. Now, Extremis, did your citation say there's no Coriolis at the equator, or did they say there's no east-west deviation at the equator?
The citation I provided specifically said Coriolis. It did not mention north, south, east, or west. Coriolis at the equator is 0.
Citation is wrong.
Oh, it's
Absolutely wrong.
It's just not specific. That's it.
Yeah.
It's wrong because there is Coriolis
give
at
us
the
the
equator.
specifics, Coach. Give us the
Listen,
Coriolis at the equator. So if he says there's not Coriolis at the equator, it's fucking wrong.
Listen, I have Q-tips, right? I have Q-tips, and there are some store brand Q-tips, right? However, there's a brand called Q-tips where the name comes from. They're called Q-tips. Okay, so there's a brand called Q-tips, and there's the general Q-tip. All right. So in this case, there's a general Coriolis, the one that encompasses all of them. And it just so happens that there's one specific Coriolis, which most people are referring to and think about when they say the Coriolis effect. But like Zanuck has been saying, there's multiple ways the Coriolis effect can be, can
so happen. This one is the Q-tip Coriolis, for sure?
That's right.
I mean, do you guys listen to yourselves? Seriously?
Yeah. It's not, like I said, it's one of those things that's not hard to understand, but if you don't want it to be true, it's easy to refute.
Look, Extremis just read something. I caught up on it. We called you out on it, and you guys, instead of saying, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. There either is or there isn't. You guys are making up excuses. Atmos effect,
so
Q-tips.
Okay, let me just say one thing, Essie, and don't interrupt me for a second. I just posted measurements and values of Coriolis, whether it be east, west, or north, south. So we all know that these phenomena exist. Yotvos versus traditional accepted vernacular of Coriolis, which is mostly north south. That's why they came up with the term Yotvos. There's also two other types that aren't ever spoken about. Just the fact that you can travel in a straight line facing west on a trajectory going west, and then not be going west if you continue on the surface of the earth due to its physical curvature. There's dropping something out of tall buildings. That's another type of Coriolis.
Dropping something out of buildings. What type is that? What type of Coriolis?
Also Coriolis. It's called Coriolis. It's called the deviation of objects that are moving viewed from. Jeremy, now you're talking over me. Viewing objects that are moving in a rotating reference frame. It covers all of it. That's Coriolis. So sometimes they say Coriolis, and they don't mean all the Coriolis effects. They mean specific types. That's the point. It's not that much of a stretch to understand that.
What is the name of the type when you drop something?
Still Coriolis.
Coriolis effect, we know. So there's definitely...
It's a nickname.
Effect. We know there's no special type of name for it. It's just plain old Coriolis effect.
Well, there's other types of names that have been given to it, but I'm just using Coriolis as one general term. Coriolis was developed.
Is there a type? Is there a name?
There was a name. No, there's a name of a gel. Okay, you want to know where it came from, or you want to know the answer, or no?
It's called I want to know if it's called the Coriolis effect, or if there's some special name for it.
Anytime you have a deviation of where you think something should go based on Newtonian physics, and then compared to where it does go in a rotating reference frame, that's called Coriolis.
Okay, cool. So there's definitely Coriolis effect at the equator. So the citation extremis is right off is wrong, right?
It's wrong for other types of Coriolis, yes. This is out of a dictionary or out of an encyclopedia.
Fucking bullshit artist, man. What a bullshit artist, man.
I'll take that as
sometimes it's not.
Hopefully the audience can see. Hopefully the audience can see what just happened. It's fucking disgusting.
Yep. Every time I knew this was going to happen. That's why when he said no Coriolis at the equator and you guys let it go, I go, what? What's going on here? Nobody.
Because there's two ways of thinking about it, and I think about it in both ways, depending on the context of the conversation.
Your stuff ain't going to get by when I'm around. Let me tell you that, man. Your bull ain't going to fly.
You blow it on all your other logic. Why would you not blow it here?
Sorry, don't say nonsense, and we won't call you out on it. Simple.
Well, think if you think about shooting a bullet, the trajectory of a ballistic object in North America, and you shoot it west, it will deviate to the right, as all objects deviate to the right, whether north, south, east, or west. On the equator, when you shoot something west, it doesn't deviate to the right. That's what they're talking about. There's no Coriolis at the equator, east to west. Only
so are you saying stuff deviates? Are you saying stuff deviates due to Earth rotation? Is that what you're saying?
The deviation is due to the Earth rotation. Yes, it's called Coriolis.
Okay, so when you fire a bullet, you said it deviates to the right, correct?
In the northern hemisphere.
Okay, now when we throw something else up in the air, like a balloon, right? How come that doesn't deviate to the right?
Is it going up and down or doing right to left, north to
Why
south,
is it
east to west?
dependent on direction? Is it directional
Well, yes,
dependent?
of course it
Yes,
does.
it does. That's the whole point of this
That's the whole
conversation.
point of it.
Oh, really? So something spins underneath me depending on which location I'm facing. Is that what you're trying to say now?
No, what direction you're actually
Direction you're
traveling.
moving.
You have to be moving. You have to be moving in the rotating reference frame. Otherwise, Coriolis is not an effect.
So here's another one. Is there Coriolis if I'm on the 45-degree latitude and I move 45? Stay on it. I move east and west, but not north and south. Is there Coriolis?
Listen, if you're on a
You're not gonna answer
rotating
it, are you?
body, if you're on a rotating body
In
and the body is rotating like you guys claim, and you say that the bullet deviates, that means every other thing must do the same thing.
nope. They have to move in the rotating reference frame, SC. I don't know how much more clear I have to make it.
That's absolute sheer nonsense.
Kosho has put a little chart there. It makes it really easy to understand for a third grader that things are moving. There's arrows, which means movement. If you don't move in the rotating reference frame, there is no Coriolis, number one. Number two, on the equator, if you're going east or west, there would be no deviation. That's what they talk about, no Coriolis. Anywhere else, there will be a deviation.
Only in your imagination.
And it's due to, hold on. It's due to a multitude of effects. Some are due to the conservation of linear, of tangential momentum, and some are due to the spherical nature of the object.
Okay, Zach. Let's actually go, but I got something to say real quick after. Well, actually, I'll say it very quickly because I only posted this to make a distinction between the Coriolis that Extremis had talked about in his article and all the general form, because this doesn't express the general form. Okay, this picture I posted is simply expressing the north to south.
You guys don't even know what Coriolis is. The Coriolis is the apparent, I repeat, apparent deflection of an object.
What you see.
Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me, please. Due to a rotating reference frame which you are on. The actual thing is not rotating.
So to be clear, generally speaking, when we talk about Coriolis, we're talking about the north-south Coriolis as you move toward or away from the equator, and not east-west. We generally speaking give that a different name. Now you can use Coriolis to encompass it all if you're talking about all types, but if you're talking about one type or the other, then you usually use Coriolis for north-south, et Otvos, or however you say it, for east-west.
Well, I have to
the difference is, hold on, guys, 1 second.
All right.
The difference is when you drop something, it's not a different type of Coriolis. It's the same type of Coriolis when you drop something. So there is Coriolis there is Coriolis at the equator. The citation you think you bodied Oakley with earlier was just wrong.
Okay, that's incorrect. What Extremis has said, though, I think I would, because I just realized when I looked at this picture, the Coriolis, the north to south, it's the statement he said is also true about the east to west Coriolis. So you could say that the north south, like that, the Coriolis of it moving across the earth, basically, is encompassed by what he had just said. Okay, but the up and down Coriolis is not encompassed in that. It's not encompassed in this picture either.
There is no different Coriolises. Take that out of your brains. You just came up with this today. There's one and only one definition of Coriolis. The apparent deflection of an object while seen from a rotating reference frame. Now, you can't change that. Nothing you say will change that.
Yeah, dude, we've said this to you guys, I don't know, weeks ago when we were talking about this. We said this multiple times. I know I have, and I know Zanik has, so...
You can say it to yourself as many times as you want.
We have been very clear about this, SE, for years with you.
Yeah, you can't change physics, bro. It's either rotating under everything. It's not selective.
The apparent deflection is what you see. We actually see this deflection when you view objects moving within a rotating reference frame. That story's never changed. Now, whether it happens by Yodvos, whether it happens by the shape of the object you're traveling over, whether you're going north-south and it's conservation of linear momentum that's being conserved, that reasons why we see Coriolis. They're all
now,
little
that's just
different.
sophistry. You're
Hold
just
on,
making shit up.
No, it's not making shit up. You can do this you could simulate this in any kind of example easily. It's not that hard to understand that if you go from a higher tangential velocity area of the Earth going north to a lower tangential, you'll see this apparent just like the merry-go-round, same type of effect, but it's on a sphere.
Yeah,
same
but
cause.
the sphere is rotating, right? The sphere is rotating.
Well, it has to rotate. You have to have a rotating reference frame for this to happen.
Okay, so explain to me how it doesn't work in the equator then, how this rotation ceases at the equator, which is the largest one, 1,000 miles an hour. You tell me how it doesn't work at the equator.
Because you're not challenging the conservation laws.
What?
Hold on.
If I shoot something from west to east on the equator, there's no deviation because there's no challenge of the conservation of linear momentum. We're going to stay at. Hold on.
You're shooting against 1,000.
We're staying at the same. We're staying at the same 1,000 mile per hour tangential velocity. We're not going to a different tangential velocity area on the sphere.
What if you shoot against that velocity? How about if you shoot against it?
You're still.
Let him
so
finish.
You go slower. So you're slower. You're still in that same range. You're just going faster, slower. Now there's another effect called Yodvos, which would make the object become lighter or heavier.
We're not talking about the Yodvos. Nice try.
It's one of the Coriolis effects.
That's also Coriolis effect.
Oh my God!
It's a type of Coriolis. It's a whole different set of reasons why the object will deviate or become lighter or heavier going east.
You're getting worse by
that's
the
why
day,
they call it. That's why they call it Yodvos. When we go east or west in the northern hemisphere, so you're talking about the equator. When we shoot something or go east or west, we are not challenging the conservation laws, so there is no deviation. That's why this says no Coriolis at the equator, east or west. Going north, obviously we're not going to be on the equator any longer, and once we go north, we're going to deviate to the right going north, and we're going to deviate to the east going south.
It's all in your mind, man. It's all in your mind. It's all against
that's why the military has manuals dictating this specifically about how much deviation there will be.
So
I spoke to the soldiers. Not one of them uses the Coriolis effect. Not one of them.
Yes, the ones that are on a boat are using it. When they shoot and know they'll be 100 yards off their target shooting north, they know they have to use it. Otherwise, they're going to fucking miss their target. So yes, SE, it's used. You said not one fucking soldier. Yes, all the soldiers on a military ship shooting cannons, 50 caliber cannons, 16-inch diameter, are using Coriolis in their calculations.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Let's use your thing. Hold on. If they're in the equator now, right, and a ship sees another ship, and it's a combative ship, and they're going to fire this thing, are they not going to use the Coriolis at the equator? Is that what you're saying? They're not going to use those adjustments?
Is the ship northeast, west, or south of the first ship? Is the target northeast, west, or south?
Well, the Earth is spinning in one direction, and you're firing at the other direction.
Okay, they're going to have to elevation or lower
anything to do with
the why the Earth. Mute that guy. Absolutely not. Can we mute that guy?
Hold on.
I posted the charts. Essie, I posted the charts. If you're at the gunboat, you're shooting east or west. No, there's not a deviation in that chart. It says 0 on the chart. I gave you the manual. It's declassified from the Navy. Hold on, let me finish.
So let me get
this straight. Hold on. If I shoot north or
is somebody bugging out in the chat? Sorry, Zanuck, I had to mute you for a second.
Gerald, he flipped out a couple of times.
Why would you mute me? Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't sure. All right, let me unmute Zanuck. Hold on a second, guys.
Yeah, then I'm trying to ask SC a question, so I will wait for Zanuck to
finish. Okay, yeah, you muted me in the middle of my answer. So yes, SC.
I know, because I was trying to do my shit. Sorry.
Well, I was answering very specifically his question. So we're shooting east to west. The charts I showed you have 0 change in direction for that ballistic object shooting from a 16-inch cannon, 50 caliber cannon. Shooting north, however, that chart shows a completely different set of values. The maximum value is going north. So yes, the Coriolis is 0 at the equator going east or west, and it will have standard Coriolis effects going north or south. What is the problem? Why is it so hard to understand?
So you're saying, I'll tell you why. You're saying that the Earth is traveling towards that bullet, towards that cannon at 1,000 miles, and it's not affecting it in the slightest bit. Somehow,
how fast is the cannon traveling?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
1,000 miles per hour.
Will it not affect it going
Is
east,
the
west?
cannon also going 1,000 miles an hour?
Let's say it is. Let's say it is. Let's say it is.
You know it has to be. Any third grader would know that if it's on that ball and the ball's spinning and it's on the ball, they're both spinning. So there's no problem.
So they're both spinning. So how about when it's going the other way? Shouldn't it pick up speed if they're both spinning?
It does.
If it goes with the spin or against the spin.
Listen to this.
People always mock what they don't understand.
SC, you take the rotation rate of the Earth, let's say at the equator. If you fire it east or west, then everything on there is also traveling that same velocity. If you fire a bullet, you then either add or subtract that velocity to the original one. If you want to talk about
just mathematics, that's it.
No, not mathematics. Physics.
Well, I mean, it's math and physics that determines whether you miss or hit your target.
Now, one of the things
it was determined by observation by Napoleon's troops.
One of the things they do in as far as this Coriolis calculation, they do calculate the Yodvos effect. So if they have a high velocity ballistic and they're shooting east, it will become effectively lighter. That shell will be lighter.
So if I have a plane and I'm traveling at that same direction, I should be deflected as well, like the bullet?
You'll see weights
plane's lighter, everything's lighter. Everything will go farther.
So the plane gets deflected?
The plane is lighter going. We know that airliners know this for years. They're 0.3% lighter when they travel east.
So they do it in a less time, right?
No.
They're a little lighter. They effectively could be a little slightly less time, yeah. Because they have less weight. There's less drag. Yes, there's less weight, there's less drag. Very, very slightly. I'm trying to be very hyper specific.
I wouldn't say less weight.
Can I get a citation for that, please? Am I being heard?
Yeah, you are.
Citation. Flying east, lighter. I want to read about that. Well, can you post something?
You want Bloom's, or do you want Bloom? Shit. Bob the Science Guy's demonstration? Or
no, I want Xanax airline. That he said they know the airline.
Yeah, which airline, man? If you're going 1,000 miles an hour, you would be 0.3% lighter.
Yeah, which airline?
1.5% lighter if you're going 500 miles an hour.
Awesome, heard you. Which airline are you talking about knows this?
All of them.
Cite it.
Citation.
Good luck with that.
Oh, I got citation right here in my pants.
I don't understand the ramifications.
Oh, so you're not hounded.
Because everybody knows this. It's a common knowledge.
Everybody should be
common
able to read
knowledge.
Okay, so we should be able to eat. Go ahead, Moya.
I've already posted the example of this.
No, not an example. Cite the airlines. Cite
Why can't you just experiment
you're talking about
with data? I give you experiment with data.
I'm wanting you to back up your fallacious claim that all airlines.
It's not a fallacious claim if I have data and correlate. If I have data to support it, it's not fallacious.
Not data.
Racky, stop yelling!
Oh my God!
Retarded.
Dude, you are on freaking drugs. Can I get a citation?
Are you listening to yourself?
Can I get a citation or not?
Yeah, I'll give you a citation. I got one right here in my pants.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought, folks.
In actuality, I don't see any reason for the airlines to cite this because it's inconsequential. However, experimentally, we've all seen it. It's been demonstrated to every single one of us in this room, I believe.
Oh, okay, so when Xanax said...
I'm sorry, Rakia.
Oh, I thought you were done.
My answer was interrupting your question. Go ahead.
Just keep going. I thought you were done, man. You're just such a pussy. You took a pause, man. Get a grip. So when Xanax says...
You cry the most about being interrupted, bitch.
Dude, you took a pause.
Hey, relax.
No, I was deep in conversation there. I had no pause whatsoever.
You made your point, then paused. You made your point about something that I wasn't even talking about. Xanax said all airlines know they're 3% lighter.
Is it time for me to talk right now? It seems like the middle of conversation when we're supposed to talk. Is that right?
See, when it's on purpose. Come on, guys. What? I didn't do it on purpose. I also apologize.
I know, Moya. Come on, man.
So when Xanax...
It's not Moyak. He brutally interrupted.
Xanax.
Raki interrupted Moyak. He was in the middle of a sentence. He's being hypersensitive about being interrupted himself, yet he accuses other people of interrupting him. Come on. You want a citation? I'll give you a citation. I'll play your game. Everyone knows this. There are citations all over the place regarding the weight of airplanes going. It's due to the Yotvos effect. My God.
So you're
ballistics also show it. Well, if I show, I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you ballistics and I'm going to show you airplanes. Okay, Rakia?
I was Xanac talking now when he cut me off.
Are you not listening to what I'm saying? I'm addressing your fucking question. Should you care more about that than being interrupted like a goddamn whining bitch?
Just post the citation.
Yeah. Can you just cite the airline saying that they're lighter?
Oh, you want the airlines quote?
Yeah, that's what you told us you had.
Yes, well, I was using all airplanes. Anything flying over 500 miles an hour has this effect.
You said every airline knows this. Shouldn't they be talking about it?
Can you post the Emirates
read about
Airlines?
You know.
Okay, so you're saying that planes traveling east go faster than planes traveling west?
No, speed is not necessarily one of the things that is going to come out of it.
I said they're lighter. They can go faster if they'd like.
Yeah, same thrust lighter. They're going to go faster there, genius.
No, they're not going to. They don't want it. They want to fly at the. They fly at the structural range of limitations for the aircraft. So if they want to fly at 0.8, you're just doing it again. They're flying at 0.8 Mach. They'll fly at 0.8 Mach. What will happen was they'll burn less fuel going at 0.8 Mach, going east than west. That's what I'm saying. Don't miss my words. Don't miss the words.
Hello. Same thrust, lighter plane, more speed.
They don't use the same. I just got done telling you they fly to a Mach number, not a fucking thrust number.
Okay, so if they were given the same amount of thrust per engines, like if I did
Oh my God, are you not listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You're not listening.
Can you answer my question?
You're right. If the same amount of thrust, lighter plane goes faster. Fucking what?
Yeah.
God, what's wrong with you? Seriously, that's so retarded.
Dude, I'm retarded. I asked you a simple question.
Yes, you're retarded.
And you interrupted.
All right. With a 500 mile an hour aircraft, we're talking about 1.5 miles per hour difference, if that's even required.
And? So it's nominal. You can't tell?
What do you mean? You can't tell about any of this stuff in airplane because they're controlling it. There's so many other factors that are much more dominant.
How do they know it's happening then, Xanac?
You can measure it.
I was talking about that you interrupted.
You can measure it.
How did I interrupt you? You were done with your sentence. I commented on your...
No.
Yes, I asked. You said that they would use... Your statement was about... I forget now. But when you were done, I commented on it. How did they know?
I wasn't done. You could tell that by the fact I was continuing talking.
Dude, there's no way.
You see, that's a dead giveaway. Yeah, when somebody's still talking, that they're still
talking.
Okay,
then we have a lag then. Sorry. Because I commented on what you had said, right?
I wouldn't know. You were talking over me. I couldn't tell.
Go ahead, complete.
I have no idea what your question was.
Don't worry about my question. Just continue with your comment you're bitching about you didn't get to continue with. Yeah, you forgot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if
that's why you shouldn't have interrupted.
All right. So Xanac said that they measure it. Okay. So Xanac said that they measure it. Okay. So that's not technically answering Rakia's question. How?
Yeah. How do they know? Very pointed question. If you're saying it.
Do you want? That's where I asked my question that nobody answered. Do you want Dr. Bob's? Do you want Wolfie's, or do you want somebody else's demonstration? Oh, there we go. I must have stopped again. That's amazing.
You asked what we wanted.
Yeah, you gotta stop stopping, Moyak.
Listen, Moyak,
stopping's gonna be a bad habit of yours.
Moyak, listen. Just a couple seconds ago, you interrupted Rakia, so shut the fuck up.
You shut the fuck
up. Bad one. He's asking what we want. I'm telling him what we want.
Let's talk more about
You take a deep breath, Jeremy. You take a deep breath.
Yeah, Jeremy's
count to 10. Count to 10.
Okay, again,
what we want is the airline. Citation from not Dr. Bob, not some fool on the internet. We want the airline. How they determine this. How they measure it. Hello?
All right, Zanik, while you're pulling that up, I have a question for SE or whoever else. But like I said before, I posted both these two Coriolis effects, right? One is the one traveling east-west or north-south, and the other one is showing something totally different, right? It's up and down in all the whatever direction it's coming from. So these are two different effects, and they happen in different ways, but they're both called Coriolis.
Yeah, but Coriolis originally did his observation experiment on a physical surface. That's the only place these deviations occur. They don't occur up in the air.
They do.
Yeah, and they require a rotating reference frame and an object being thrown which travels in a straight line but only appears to deviate. That's the Coriolis effect.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. And that is the deviation they're talking about. And it is actual deviation with respect to the surface that you're comparing it to. That's why they have transforms.
Negative.
That's why they have transforms. That's why I have the local reference frame, the absolute reference frame, inertial states, non-inertial states. All these things are all about math and physics. And if you don't understand them, I get it. But you have to understand that people around you know this. You don't. And it seems like a different language, and I get that.
Don't be condescending.
I'm not being condescending. I'm telling you that it's not easy.
Understand a park,
it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do a transform. I'm not doing that. Look, it's not easy to do transforms in physics for motion. These rotating reference frames to inertial reference frames are difficult. They're very complicated math. But what it's saying, you got it down to its essence. You did have that, by the way, SE. It means when you see something move in a rotating reference frame, it'll look like it deviates because it is deviating in your reference frame. In the reference frame,
when you see a plane flying, does it appear to deviate?
Hey, SE, was that your time to talk?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, you didn't think I was done.
You can't drone on those, Zanik. Jesus.
Yeah, you're going on and on, bro.
I'm not going on. I'm being scripted, but I'm also being very, very brief as well. Being very brief.
Not really.
Okay,
if you look at an object moving and deviating in a rotating reference frame, that is Coriolis.
Not really.
And it happens because of Coriolis.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying you gotta choose which stuff to maybe leave out of what you're saying because there's a lot of fluff.
Well, let me ask SE this question. SE, as I'm listening to this, it sounds to me like Coriolis in terms of things that have altitude above the Earth's surface is simply an aerial Foucault pendulum because there's deviation.
No.
Well, not really. No. It's just an appearance.
No.
Foucault pendulum is looking at something that's fixed in space.
Okay, Zanik, I was talking to SE. That's why I addressed him specifically. Yeah, I get that, SE. I get that but Zanik, it seems to me, is saying that there is an actual deflection. There's actual physical deflection.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
Okay, so hold on, right. Okay, hold on. Okay, that's my point, SE. My point is that he's attributing a physical deflection in the air, which is the same as a Foucault pendulum deflection attached to the Earth. It's just
and that reference, sure,
yeah.
Yeah, they think it's an actual deflection, Travis, not a visual. They
think
it's
actual in that reference frame.
Yeah,
it actually curves to the right. It actually curves 100. You shoot that gun, a 16-inch diameter, 50 caliber gun. You shoot it 25 miles. It deviates 100 yards. Actually goes 100 miles to the right of the target. That's actual.
There's a lot of fluff, man. But
so it's not a lot of fluff. Tell him, Kosho.
It wasn't a lot of fluff. No, I gave a specific example.
I know.
I had to get what words could I left out, Kosho?
The caliber of the rifle.
The gun, the caliber.
Right? Yeah, I think so. But I think
a big gun. A big gun shooting north will be 100 yards off to the right if shot north. That's Coriolis. It's an actual deviation.
Okay, so Zanik, let's be clear. It's not the Earth rotating causing this. It's the bullet actually deviating. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying the Earth is causing that.
Yeah, SC, if it's not an actual deviation, even though you see it happening, what would you call it?
Come on, man.
No, Kosho, that's obfuscating the entire point. It's the ground. The Earth is rotating. We're going from a higher tangential velocity to a lower tangential velocity position on the surface. On the surface, the reason that it misses it because the surface is going slower where we're shooting it to, and that reason is the reason why it's off by 100 yards because the surface has characteristics of a curve. So there's lower tangential velocities points on this curve. We're shooting to it. That's why it's off. It's an actual deflection.
As it says, so it's an actual deviation, right?
No, it's not.
Clearly, it is.
Yes, with respect to that reference frame, it is.
Okay, if you were to draw, SE, if you were to strike a line on the ground, just surveying, you go due north, and you survey out for 100 miles, a nice straight line, and you shoot that gun down that straight line, it will appear to the left of that straight line. Would you call that physically to the left, or would you call it perceived to the left?
Well, it all depends. What do you think is causing it? Is it you that's rotating, or is it the bullet that's actually turning?
I'm not really asking that. I'm asking, I fired it along a straight line, and it landed not on that straight line. Did that bullet change its position reference to that line? Did it deviate from that line?
Well, obviously, if you witnessed it landed not with that straight line, obviously it landed.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
That would be physical, right?
Bingo what? Bingo what? Was it the barrel turning inside the thing that caused it? Was it the
no, because they can show that that's not the cause. It's easy to show that's not the cause.
Really?
Yes, because you shoot south and the opposite happens.
Okay, then if I were to throw a drone up in the air, right, or a hot air balloon, I should see it deviate to that side as well,
remember,
right?
God, Jeremy knows this. Essie, the object has to move within the reference frame. That's a critical component of Coriolis.
We'll move it. We'll move it a bit.
North or south, east or west? Where's it going?
Okay. Sure. So it should swing
then
to the right.
If you go south, the Earth will appear to move underneath it. Yes.
What?
But how come we
Normally,
never see that? How come? Yeah.
There'd be no way to practically test that. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Correct.
How come every hot air balloon I've ever seen in my life go up and then move slightly to the left?
Oh my God! This is like a Nathan Thompson response, dude. You're being ridiculous.
Was that you talking through my question, Zanuck? Was that you?
That's why it's impossible to test it with a balloon, because basically your speeds are so slow, your change in angular velocity is going to be so tiny, you're not going to see it compared to the other effects on that balloon, like wind.
Yeah, the wind.
So selective deviation. Got it.
No, not
selective.
Keep digging
It has a
bigger hole for
definition.
you guys. Keep digging.
It's not selective. It has a definition. As I mentioned to you in the text chat, it is a vector cross product. The direction and the velocity matter.
Okay.
Right. So if you're going to talk about the Coriolis effect, and we're talking about hovering drones and hot air balloons, you have to acknowledge that the actual definition of the Coriolis effect says that very little should happen.
So let me get this straight. This apparent rotation of the Earth, which is 1,000 miles at the equator, can only be witnessed or felt or otherwise detected by something traveling the speed of a bullet. Only.
Or something very repetitive, like a so-called pendulum.
I think you had us all. Let me get this straight.
Low velocity, you won't see anything. If you have a really high velocity, you start to get into the precision where you can see it.
Yeah, the problem is you start out with, let me get this straight. Why do I feel like we're talking to people in an insane asylum? I mean, it's just getting a little ridiculous.
That is funny coming from you,
Zanuck.
Another insult, another tactic used.
Oh no, we're making things. We're spending a lot of time making things very clear, and you're just not getting it.
That's ridiculous, Jeremy. All morning.
I mean, we know that we just got to stomach these cats like Chinese food.
No bullshit. You don't give in to them an inch, or they take a mile again.
Okay, let me just break this down again real quick, because I think the micro discussion is where we base our challenge of what you're claiming about this. So if we have an original Coriolis observation where he's got a rotating surface and he places a ball on that rotating surface, and everything is stationary, nothing is moving, nothing's deflecting or deviating. Now, all you have to do is move the surface, and that ball is going to deflect. It's going to deviate. You don't have to raise it up. You don't have to give it velocity. Okay? So the same thing is, so then if you did raise up that, let's make it, instead of a ball now, let's make it a drone. You put the drone on the rotating surface, everything's stationary, nothing's going on. You're going to have inertia if that surface starts to move. If it gets fast enough, then that drone is going to lose the resistance of inertia and gain momentum and move.
Whoa, you're making up words now and using them all incorrectly.
Okay, listen, just shut up. Okay, look, I'm not trying to be specific. You understand what I'm saying, okay?
Are you saying that when you spin the rotating object, the things fly off of it? That's due to centrifugal force. Different.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good.
It's a whole different set of concepts.
Okay, just let me finish, please. Now, that rotating surface with the drone is still stationary. Now, if you elevate that drone and then move the surface is going to leave its reference frame from the drone, and it's going to move, okay?
Things don't leave reference frames.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
That is not correct.
That is true. They don't.
Objects
are in all reference frames simultaneously.
Why is he able to interrupt and then obfuscate?
Okay,
now
again,
we're on to do things.
It's correction.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. So my point is that we know that once the drone leaves the surface of the rotation, you're going to have a contrast in that which is moving and that which is stationary, right? So if you're on the Earth and you have a drone, it's going to be just like the drone is on the surface of this rotating surface. Both are there together. But if you elevate the drone away from the surface, the drone is going to stay stationary and you are going to move away from it.
How would it do that if it's not conserving momentum?
Where do you get the idea of conservation of momentum? I didn't invoke that.
If the Earth is moving, then the drone was moving before it took off, wasn't it?
As was the atmosphere.
Okay, right. So here's my point. Again, if you did that now on a rotating surface, if you put the drone now on a rotating surface, both are rotating. If you elevate the drone above, yes, it's going to have an initial continuation of momentum, but because it's not on that surface any longer, it will lose that momentum and you will move away from it. It's not very difficult.
It doesn't lose momentum. You don't lose momentum.